A Strolling Player by R. Murray Gilchrist, born 1868, died 1917. At the bend of the hill road, where one loses sight of the distant village, a stream had overflowed before the last frost, and the limestone cartway, with its smoothly worn cobbles and its lattice of red and yellow and black leaves, was covered for many yards with a transparent sheet of ice. In daylight it resembled a mosaic of arabesque device, but now, reflecting the last scarlet shreds of the afterglow, it suggested a river of blood. All around grew dwarf sycamores and elms and silver birches, their bare timber streaked with ribbons of frozen sleet. When the wagon reached this perilous place, Joe Asham got down from the high shaft and with a few sad claps of encouragement strove to make the young white horse proceed. Its shoes had not been sharpened, however, and at the first attempt it slipped back with such violence that the thing inside the wagon was jolted roughly against the side. At the sound, the old man winced and crept to the back and drew the burden again into the middle, covering it neatly with the strip of clean satin. "There munna be a scrat on it," he muttered, "else Johanna'll break her heart altogether. If it's all right, I'll be pleased. Poor soul, for it's the best work I've ever seen. They said in a sum of one of the big trees in Western Dale." He caught the bridle again and pulled with all his might, and the horse felt its way very slowly, without lifting its hoofs from the ground. The road turned abruptly again at a corner with a steep and barren acclivity on the right hand, and on the left a dangerous ravine filled with ancient firs and rough stones. The wind was rising and the place seemed full of whispers. There the horse slipped for the second time, and the sacking fell in a heap at the back. In the waning light was visible a short and narrow coffin with a bright metal nameplate. Joe covered it again and jerked the bridle almost furiously, but the horse would not move. "Oh, Bugs and Milan, dinna fail me at such a time," he cried querulously. "Joanna's waiting there all alone and we're late, and all already." Someone rose from the low wall and came towards him. His eyes were wet, and he could only distinguish the outline of a woman's figure. "Can I help you at all?" she inquired in a thin, eager voice. "I'll take it very kindly, ma'am, if you'll sit inside and hold a stiff position. I don't know what else spoiling I could make Bucks occur. Only I wouldn't fit shaking it." "What is inside?" she said, lifting her bundle and preparing to climb. "It's a coffin, ma'am. My poor Michelle's my daughters. The woman shivered, but got in without a word and knelt and clasped her arms about the thing. Joe dragged Boxer forward, and in a few minutes they had reached the level. There the woman rose to alight, but the old man put out his hand. I reckon you're going my way over the moor, he said. It's 5 miles to my house, midway across, and you're welcome to ride if you will. She thanked him. I want to reach Great Hockler tonight if I can, she said. I'm a strolling player, and I'm trying to get an engagement with Bainbridge's company. I shall be very glad to ride with you, and I've walked ever since daybreak. Darkness fell, and the air grew thick with the oncoming of snow. Schwamm struck a match and lighted his lantern and walked on in front. The woman saw that they had reached the moorland. On either side was a low bank of heather-covered turf, broken here and there with frozen water holes. A few ragged sheep followed in the wake of the wagon. The road was no longer of limestone, but of brown sand and pebbles. The shadow of the wheels stretched behind and broke amidst the moving sheep. A few snowflakes fluttered downward. Schwamm stopped the horse and came again to the side. The woman was still crouching with her arms about the coffin. I reckon that were a strange thing of me to ask, he said. But you'll see I were baffled. It's getting mortal cold. I've got the horse rug in front. You may as well put it on and sit on the shaft. You'll have to step down first. She obeyed. He put the lantern on the ground and found the rug. He saw that she was very wan and exhausted. Her face was a wasted oval. The skin about her eyes was blue with weeping and sleeplessness. She wore a shabby black silk cloak, trimmed with moth-eaten fur. The hat that shaded her forehead was a dingy yellow lace. She might have been any age between 35 and 50. When Joe had pinned the rug over her breast, he helped her to the shaft, and she sat there with her feet dangling. The snow was falling heavily now. The sheep had retreated to the hollows, and even the sides of the road were invisible. Suddenly, the old man laughed and fell behind to walk beside the stranger. I want to talk to you, Mum, he said. I want to forget things. You've seen misfortune, have you, no? Yes, I've seen misfortune, she replied. So much misfortune that I wish the coffin had been made for me. But all of us have our share. Will you go much farther? About a mile. But I'd liefer you'd come up to the house with me. I'd say I'll did you one a good, and happen if I'm a take the liberty of asking you, we could carry the coffin in betwixt us. The woman nodded. Hey, it's Michelle's coffin, and Michelle's our only child. Such a rare wretch, too, were a fool who went away. But such were her will, and there were no holding her in a womb. You should have seen her. You will just as pink and white as the inside of a beyond nipple. And I were a bad year at the crops, though things bettered afterwards. Who wouldna come warm till a month ago? And then who were heavy with trouble? Be obliged to go forward again, a track diversion to the right, crossed the frozen brook and climbed between stunted hedges to the farmstead. He turned the horse safely and came back. I want to ask you something. The woman said anxiously. When she came back to you, were you kind? Kind, ma'am? Aye, that we were. Were the happiest and yet the saddest day of our lives. Pretty where else should you here go? Have none to her own foot. You brought shame with her, but who? Were Joanna's daughter and my daughter, and the shame were all forgiven. The woman's eyes swam in scalding tears. She pressed her hands over her heart. Then she quaked, remembering a casting from a door and a shouting of places. A dog barked softly. The wind was whirling. The snowflakes in reefed columns that passed in front of the house like veils of smoke. From the window of an upper room, a clear streak of light stretched over the pond. The dog came bounding on a shipwreck and jumped up to a Schwamm's horse. Hush, Jip! We munna have a noise, he said, stooping to stroke its head. He put up the horse, leaving the stranger standing in the open air. Then he unlatched the door on that side of the house that abutted on the stable yard, and beckoning her to help, silently drew the coffin from the wagon. They carried it through the kitchen, not without difficulty, for the oak planks were thick, and into the house place, where they laid it on the land settle. Schwamm went to the foot of the stairs. Joanna! He called gently. I've gotten back, and there's a lady come with me who's been helping me with that. Mrs. Schwamm came down very shortly. She was a stout little woman with clear blue eyes and brown wrinkled skin. The outline of a goiter showed through her black and white neckerchief. She held out a cold hand. And where good are your mum? She said. I were fear my lad kidney money by himself. The lady's an actress, Joe explained. On the way to Great Uplow, who held the coffin for me when Boxer slipped. Joanna tried to unbutton the ragged silk robe, but the stranger held it more tightly together. Lend me a lantern, she said, and let me go on. If I am not there early tomorrow, my chance will be lost. The old woman threw open the window. The snowfall had thickened. It came down so quickly that it seemed as if a white sheet hung outside. No, that's impossible, Mum, she she said. You must stay with us and have some of your supper. Though it's hard to find them bloodily and to need even a lad who's lived here all his life with no death adventure. You don't wish to fleece to death. The player smiled painfully. It would not matter much, she replied. But if you will have me stay, I must do something. Is there any sewing? I'm good with the needle. No, ma'am, nothing. I'm not shrouding on the sun. I thought they were the very things I put by way. The old tampons thank very kindly, but all is done. Her husband drew her attention to the coffin. She examined it carefully, feeling the polish of the wood and the weight of the metal handles with wondrous murmurs of pleasure. That's a beautiful thing, she remarked at last. If only our Michelle could see it, would be most satisfied. She took from the oven a huge bowl of hot porridge. Joe drank buttermilk with his share, but Joanna poured over the strangers a jug full of rich cream. After supper, man and wife began to waggle soberly concerning which should sit up in the death chamber. Joanna had done so on the preceding night, but knowing that her husband was weary with the journey, she wished to take this turn. The actress broke in during a pause with, "Let me watch with your dad. I will keep awake all night." It was only with considerable difficulty that she prevailed. Joanna told her that it had been the custom of the family for many generations. "Michelle's the third I've watched," she said proudly. "There was Joe's mother first, and then my own lad has died 30 years ago. But Joe and I am growing old and worn out, and it'll be best for us to sleep, for tomorrow will be a hard day." "What may your name be, ma'am?" "Oh, call me Valetti. It is the name my parents gave me. A foolish name like tinsel and sawdust." Joanna opened the staircase door. "Come then, Valetti," she said. "This is the way to Michelle's chamber." She led up the broad, worm-eaten stairs to a great room, where stood a large four-post bedstead hung with blue and white gingham. She drew the curtains aside reverentially, and after removing a crocheted cloth, showed Valetti the face of a young girl, whose long, glossy hair spread from the frilled nightlock in strands over the pillow. Joanna peered into Valetti's hollow eyes before drawing down the counterpane and showing her the baby lying in its embroidered gown, like a doll, with its head resting between the mother's left breast and arm. Valetti's face worked. She turned aside. "Isn't who a pretty young?" Joanna said. 21 years. But that's just the fool were 10 or 11 and who had gone to sleep with her moppet. There was a low fire on the hearth. She put on a dried peat and turned up the lamp. You wanna be scared, Valetti, who never did any harm to anyone. My old man and me are asleep, we had daughter jar. Let's just focus the landing. If you want out, you need but call, but I warrant you we shall not sleep heavy tonight. Valetti sat quietly in the armchair with her hands folded in her lap. The old people went to bed. You heard them undress, and for a while caught sounds of sobbing and whispering. Then they were asleep. The silence of the place became too oppressive, and she walked to and fro, looking at the pictures that covered the walls. Most of these were sober, huge chalk paintings done on thin glass. The scene of Nelson's death hung above the funeral of Pitt, and a ruined castle surrounded by a moat beside a basket of impossible flowers. Over the mantel was a sampler embroidered in faded silk, a prim cottage with a formal garden on whose lawn was wrought as verse from the dialogue of Death and the Lady. Soon she drew her chair to the bedside and took away Michel's face cloth. If only I were dead instead of you, poor child, she said. I have nobody and you had those who needed you. She folded her hands again and sat gazing at the curves of the girl's body. The clock downstairs struck hour after hour. The muffled wind stroked the windows with snow. A feeling of contempt filled her now. It was like a dream of quietness and rest. Her life had been one long turmoil of excitement and of shame and of repentance. Michel had known only one short sorrow. Hers had been many and protracted through years and years. There is no rest but death, she murmured. Yet all of the time her heart was craving for warmth and peace. She wished no longer for love. All that desire was burned out long ago. All that she wanted was a perfect heart. The wind fell, and the grey dawn broke. She heard the old couple stir in their bed, then fall asleep again. The nights of watching before and after Michel's death had taken away all of their strength. She did not wake them, although she knew that unless she reached Great Hucklow before noon, all her chance of an engagement would be lost. But she felt no pain for herself, for were they not oblivious of all their trouble? At last, Joanna came, half-dressed, into the chamber. She leaned over Michel's uncovered face and kissed it twice. My dearie, she whispered, their nose were always cold. Out. It doesn't seem as though we're dead. And a little while though, it'll be put away for that old mother. She beckoned Valetti to follow her down to the house place. I mun ask your pardon, she said, but we slept on and on. Why didn't you waken us? I'm afraid you'll be too late. You'd best stay till noon and go with us to Hilo for the Durian. It's on the way to Great Ocklow. There'll be none there. We wanted to put her away by our sons. Besides, we have near only friends. They came downstairs soon, and they breakfasted in silence. Then Valetti, seeing that she wished to take the coffin upstairs, took hold of the end. Joanna followed, and between them they lifted Michelle and the child by the towels that were spread underneath, and spread the gilt cotton wool evenly from head to foot. The man started at 12, Joe said. Parson will be waiting at 2. It'll be a white burying. He raised the lid. Valetti left them to say the last goodbye and waited downstairs. At noon the wagon started with the 2 women sitting on either side of the coffin, whilst Joe rode on the shaft. The father and mother had donned rusty black garments and big half-mouldy gloves. Valetti still wore her silk cloak, but Joanna had lent her an uncouth scuttle bonnet that almost concealed her haggard face. The track was deep with snow at even distances. The heads of roughly chiselled boundary stones kept them from straying on the moor. Joanna, who held the actress's hand in hers, wept silently all the way. When they reached the churchyard, which lies in a hollow end at the end of a scattered hamlet, they found the clergyman waiting in the court. 2 gravediggers came forward to carry the coffin, but the Schwams and Valetti lifted it themselves and laid it on the trestles in front of the altar. None of the villagers were present. They knew but little of the moor folk, and it was much too cold to venture out of doors for such a trivial sight. The clergyman's voice rang hollow amongst the stuccoed arches. Joe and Joanna trembled as if a goad struck. The grave had been nearly dug. Valetti saw on the mound, not yet covered by the falling snow, some little white bones and the shreds of a long decayed coffin. It was all that remained of the boy that Joanna had lost 30 years before. The player buried her badly shod feet in the snow and covered these relics hurriedly, so that they might not hurt the mother's eyes. In a few minutes the service was over, and the gravediggers began to throw back the soft, clayey soil. Valetti drew the old people away. When Joanna had got into the wagon, Valetti leaned over the side and kissed her. "Goodbye," she said. "God bless you for your comfort of me." Joanna threw her arms around her neck. "Huh?" "I wanna let you go, Valetti wretch." She wailed. "Come, roam with Joe and me. Come and stop with us for good. Ah, Michelle Del Wishdare. Joe put his hand over his eyes. Ah, Daniele Vasveletti. We got numb. They left us. Valetti turned faint. Everything reeled before her eyes. Then she flushed, as if overcome by some great and unexpected happiness, and clambered into the wagon.